Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on the rose window pendant, which goes with the rose window bracelet. I mean, I think it's a standalone also, but if you want a little set. Here's the bracelet for those of you who haven't seen it. It's a very pretty component bracelet using SuperDuos, and it's made all in one piece, so you don't have to sew the components together. So I'll link this bracelet down below in the description box if you're interested in taking a look at that. All right, so let's take a quick look at the pendant. So here, let me take this one off. I just want to show you this SuperDuo here, this blue. Look at this cobalt blue. Isn't that amazing? What a color. I just had it in my stash. See if I can find it and link the color below. So I'm using a 14mm Rivoli here, and we haven't used those in a while, so I think we need to pay attention to the Rivoli, the 14mm Rivoli a little bit. So the whole bezel itself is a Rivoli, and the bezel is made with SuperDuos. So easy and fast and really kind of fun. All right, so here I'm going to clear this off. I'm going to get a materials list going, and we'll get started making this little pendant. See you in a minute. Okay, let's get our materials list going. So we need a 14mm Rivoli, 2 colors of SuperDuos, a 4mm bicone, and a 3mm bicone. Now, if you are a Eureka Collections person and you have all those bags of 24mm and 23mm bicones, and you're like, what do I do with this small amount? And you didn't order extra. Perfect. Perfect. Just pull them all out. Okay, 11/0 seed beads, 15/0 seed beads, a cup button. I've got a stop bead, size 10 beading needle. You might need a 12 also, so have that handy. I used Fireline Black Satin 8-pound on the bezel, and I used Wildfire for the chain. All right, so I think that's everything. So don't forget to check the description box below the video for your discount on the Bring Berries mat, the No More Oops bead tray. Always check for, any deals or free shipping or whatever. I'll link all the beads I used in the description box below the video, as well as sizes, colors, shapes, amounts of beads, everything you need. Places I purchased my beads will be down there, and any other info that I might have. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, and we're going to get started. Okay, let's get started. So thread your needle with about 3 feet of thread, put on a stop bead about in the middle. You're going to have a little more on the needle side than you will on, on the tail side, but we're going to use that tail to do part of the bezel. All right, so I have picked up and dropped down to my stop bead, an 11/0 and 2 SuperDuos, and I did that 7 times. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 groups of 1 11/0 and 2 SuperDuos. I'm going to sew those into a circle by sewing through the first bead and all the beads again, just to reinforce the circle. So just going around like that. I'm going to come past the stop bead like this, and down a few more beads just to get that circle nice and secure. And I'm just gonna, it doesn't really matter which one you come out of, which group of 2. I'm just going to come out of one of the SuperDuos in that group of 2. So right here, this is what it looks like. Just move these guys over. So you're gonna have this circle, and you're exiting the bottom hole of a SuperDuo right here. Okay? All right, so get that done, and then we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I have reinforced my entire, circle of beads. I'm exiting one of these, the bottom hole of the group of 2 SuperDuos. I'm just going to sew through the top hole. I did one other thing, just to make it easier when we do the interior of the bezel. So I've taken off my stop bead and threaded my needle. So I'll just put that other thread aside for now. I originally was exiting an 11/0 right here. I just moved my thread so I was exiting the bottom hole of a SuperDuo. And just that little bit makes it just easier for us to get this thread up, to where we're going to put the, capture the stone. You can still get through, but if you can just move it over a couple of beads and then just put that aside. So it's coming out of that bottom hole of the SuperDuo. It might make it a little easier, as I said. All right. So now we're just going to go back to our other thread. So we're exiting the top of this, a top hole of this SuperDuo here. I'm just going to add my contrasting color SuperDuo in between those two, which is the copper. Then an 11-0 here. Copper through there here, and then an 11-0 through the next SuperDuo. So do you see how I have the copper SuperDuo in between the two SuperDuos, and the 11-0s are right here. Just going to keep doing that, like so, until you get to the end, and then meet me back here, and we'll continue down to the end, putting on my last bead, which is an 11-0. So sewing through the top of that SuperDuo and the bottom hole of the next SuperDuo. So that was the copper one right there. And then I'm just going to sew through the beads until I get to this one again, just to sort of get away from where I connected it. So sew through the SuperDuo 11-0, SuperDuo, and then the top of that burgundy SuperDuo and the bottom of the copper one. Just going to leave that and see as when I pull a little bit, it starts to curve. All right, so just get to that point, and then you're going to grab your other needle. So if you haven't already taken the stop bead off, you know, like I suggested, and moved your thread earlier, then just take it off now. But I'll wait for you to do that, and then we'll start working on the interior of the bezel. Okay, we're back. So here is my top thread right here. So I've come around, I'm exiting one of the SuperDuos here, the copper ones. I'm just going to sew through, so I'm exiting the bottom hole. I'm just going to sew through the top hole. And I'm just going to put that thread aside. And I'm going to work with the interior thread now to capture the stone. So this is where I wanted you to move your thread. So, you know, this was my tail thread with the stop bead. It's taken it off, and I've moved my thread. Remember, I think it was coming out of this 11-0. I moved it over through the SuperDuos just so it's easier for me to get to where I want my thread to come out. So I want my thread to come out right here. So I'm exiting the bottom of this SuperDuo. I'm just going to sew through the top of that one and the copper one. So the top of the Bordeaux and the bottom of the copper through the top of this next Bordeaux bead, SuperDuo, and out the 11-0. Like that. That's where I want you to be. Okay, move my lights down a bit. So now we're going to use some 11-0s and some 15-0s. So I'm going to pick up two 11-0s, a 15-0, and two 11-0s. Now I used a pink one in the middle just so you can see my connection point when that time comes. So here I'll pull in a little bit more. So two 11-0s, a 15-0, and two 11-0s. I'm exiting this 11-0. Just going to jump over to this one, making sure that those beads are in front of the SuperDuo. So two 11-0s, a 15-0, and two 11-0s. Doing that again, making sure that they all sit in front of the SuperDuos. So you're just going to continue that all the way around. Come on to the end, and we'll continue. Okay, coming down to the end. So two 11-0s, a 15-0, and two 11-0s. So I'm going to sew through that original one I was exiting. So that's the 11-0 right here. Making sure those beads sit in front of the SuperDuo. And then, see, here's my little group of 5 beads I put on. I'm going to sew up through the two 11-0s and the 15-0. So that 15-0 is going to be our connection point. Like that. All right, so just get to this point and then we'll continue. Okay, so I'm exiting that 15-0 of that group of 5. I'm going to pick up a 15-0, a 3mm bicone, and a 15-0, and I'm going to sew through that next 15-0, the pink one that I put on, of the next group of 5. that. Do that again. 15-0 bicone, 15-0, sewing through that middle 15-0 of the next group of 5. 15-0, 3mm bicone, 15-0, sewing through that next 15-0, the middle of that group of 5. Like that. Okay, so we're going to put the stone in a second. Do it one more time. 15-0, 3mm bicone, 15-0, sew through the next. Center 15-0. Okay, so we're going to put the stone in. I'm going to make this the back. This is how I made the design to work, so that the back looks like that, and this is what the front looks like. However, you can put it in so that you have your front with the bicones surrounding it. The only thing that's going to be different is, I'll show you on this one, is that the dome is going to be on this side where the SuperDuos are. So that's the original design, but then I was looking at it and thinking, gee, you could probably put the stone in the other way. You can put the stone in this way, but it will be more flat on this side. So you see how this is sticking out because of the SuperDuos. It will be if the front of the stone is here, it will be more flat. I think it would be pretty, but just know that. So decide which way you want to do that. I'm going to do it like so. 15-0 bicone, 15-0, like that. 15-0 bicone, 15-0, one more time. So we're going to sew through the pink 15-0 and then up through the next 15-0 bicone 15-0, like that. All right, so this is what it looks like. I mean, I think it'd be really pretty on this side too. You just have to, consider that it will be a little more flat on this side. All right, so just get to that. Well, actually, what you can do at this point is just continue on around and reinforce your bezel. Okay, so here, I'm just going around all the beads I just put on the 15-0 bicone 15-0 just to pull everybody in. And you can do that all the way around just so it's nice and secure, and then you can actually clip off that thread. All right, so get that done. Come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back, so let's embellish the outside. So, and my thread is coming out of the top hole of one of these SuperDuos. I think I got you there. If not, you'll be coming out the bottom. Just come, sew through the top hole like that. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a 4mm bicone, and an 11-0. I'm just going to sew through the next one. And I'm going to pull inward this way because I want it to curve inward. That's why I was saying earlier, if you have this side showing as the front, it will be, a little more flat on this side because of how the SuperDuos slant. All right. 11-0 bicone, 11-0, pulling inward. 11-0 bicone, 11-0. Pulling inward. 11-0 bicone, 11-0, like that. So here, this is what it looks like. Holding it on this side because that way I'm pulling it inward, so it's easier for me to pull it in when I'm holding it with the back facing me. Like that. 11-0 bicone, 11-0. Just pulling in like that. 11-0 bicone, 11-0 through the last one, and I'm going to go around again, pulling everybody inward so that my beads kind of pull together. All right, so I'm just going to let you do that, and continue going around until it feels nice and secure. And I want you to exit one of the 11-0s right before this SuperDuo right here. But I'm going to go off and I'm going to reinforce a little more, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, we're back. So I've finished reinforcing and it's looking really good. Did anybody catch where I missed putting on an 11-0? And I was wondering why it felt slightly wonky. I mean, you just feel that, when you, sometimes. So honestly, sometimes if you feel like, well, what's going on here? Usually you miss something. So here I'm exiting this 11-0. I'm going to pick up 5 of my 15-0s. And I'm going to embellish just the tip of this. Here, I'll do it on this side. I'm going to embellish the tip of this SuperDuo. So I'm exiting this 11-0, going to skip the SuperDuo, and I'm going to sew through the 11-0 bicone 11-0. And that's going to embellish the edge. Pick up 5 15-0s, do the same thing, exiting this 11-0, sewing through this 11-0, SuperDuo 11-0. Oh, I fixed that, by the way, where I missed my 11-0. All right, so you can continue this all the way around. You don't even have to do this part of the embellishment. I think it's pretty just the way it is, but I just wanted to give you the option if you want to put those 15-0s around. So when you're done with that, you're just going to sew on your thread, because we're going to add the chain on. We're going to make the chain and add it on separately. Okay? All right, so get that done. Meet me back here and we'll continue. Okay, back for just a second. So I've finished all the embellishment. I just want to show you a good way to reinforce. So I'm exiting the 11-0 right here, the 11-0 bicone 11-0. I'm going to sew right through this SuperDuo like that. And then I'm going to reverse direction like that. And then I'm going to sew through this guy. And then I'm going to pull, and that really, that really secures it nicely. And then I'll just tie some half-hitch knots around the SuperDuos. And there you go. There's our little pendant. All right, so get that done and come on back and we'll work on the necklace. Okay, now we're going to set up to put the chain on. And I'm going to show you with this side of the bezel, because I already started on this side. But just so you get an idea of how it's going to go, you want your chain to be sort of coming out from behind that 4mm bicone. So I'm going to turn it on this side and pretend that's not there. I'm going to attach my thread. Well, first, thread your needle with about 6 feet of thread. Put a needle on each end. And I'm using Wildfire here because I think it's a little bit stronger than the Fireline I'm using. So where we're going to start, it doesn't matter which SuperDuo, we're going to be starting with these beads that are under this copper SuperDuo. So whether it's this one, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to start with here, and I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to be using these beads right here. 1, 2, this group of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 2 11-0s, the 15-0, and the 2 11-0s. I'm going to sew through these 2 11-0s in this direction, like that. With one needle. And then I'm going to sew through the 15-0 and the 2 other 11-0s with my other needle. And if you have to maneuver it a little bit to get it around the SuperDuo, just give it a little bend. Like that. And I'm going to even up my thread. So that's where we're going to be adding beads, like that. And what I want you to do is take a stop bead. And let's see, well, I'm just going to use this little 11-0 because I can't find any of my stop beads at the moment. And put a stop bead on one thread and bring it all the way down so that it keeps the thread from pulling through the thread you're working with. So we're going to do one line, one end of the necklace with one side and one end with the other side. But just make sure that stop bead is there to keep, so you're not pulling the thread through as you're working. All right, so just get to that point and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So here is the blue one right here. And so any combination of SuperDuos that you have, you know, 2 colors, 4, it doesn't matter, whatever you like. I just did 2 colors here and I ran out of the blue one, so I just finished all the rest with gold. Now just be careful with this type of chain because it's a flat chain, right? So you want to make sure that it is going to lay on your neck properly, and that means it can't be super long. It's got to be more of a little, you can be a little longer than a collar, but check it on your neck. You know, like I have big collarbones, so things tend to pop on around on my neck a lot. It doesn't matter whether it's, you know, 14 karat gold jewelry or 18, whatever, or beads or, you know, just metal jewelry. I always have like an issue with that. So just be sure, try it on, make sure that the fit is nice and that it's laying nicely. And what you can do also is if you have to make it longer, maybe you can go up to this point with SuperDuos and then continue with something round so that you don't have to worry about this part going around your neck. I just like you to know these things because it's always possible, you know, with beaded jewelry that things are gonna flip a bit. It just happens, you know, unless everything is completely round. It's, you know, there's always a possibility, especially with something like a SuperDuo. So, you know, play with that a little bit and see how that works for you. All right, so what I'm gonna do at this point, let me take these off the needle, is I hear my threads are coming out of the 2 ends, right? The 2 groups of 2 beads on the back. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s, a SuperDuo, an 11-0, a SuperDuo, 11-0, SuperDuo, and an 11-0. So I'm starting with 3 11-0 seed beads, and then I'm just adding a SuperDuo with a seed bead, 11-0 seed bead in between each SuperDuo, whatever that color combo is for you. So the reason that I did 3 in the beginning is I want to get up from this part up to here, so I need those 3 to fill in that space in the back. You'll see what I mean when you get to it. So just put on 3 to start with. And then any combination of SuperDuos and 11-0s, fire polish, anything you like at this point. What we're going to do is I'm going to do a whole line of SuperDuos and 11-0s, and then I'm going to put the clasp on, turn around and come back to connect the other side of the SuperDuo like that. So that's why the long thread. So I'm going to come around, then I'm going to connect here like that. If you are going to change the chain, then you'll just have to play with how you add your beads. All right, so I'm just going to go off and I'm going to just, I'm going to make up some sort of combination of my beads. And I'll come back when I'm finished with one side, going up just one side, and then we'll put the clasp on and turn around and come back. All right, see you in a few. Okay, we're going to attach the cup button, but I just wanted to show you how this is looking so far. Here we go. All right, so I'm just going to come down to this end to where I have I'm going to attach. So I've just ended with a SuperDuo. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s, coming through underneath through one of the holes of the cup button. Pick up a SuperDuo, drop that down. 3 11-0s, so we're sort of decorating the top of the cup button. Oops. Down the other hole of the SuperDuo and the cup button. I'm trying to keep the connection here really simple so nothing twists around. Then 3 more 11-0s. And then I'm going to connect to that first SuperDuo. The end there. So very simple connection, and then I'm going to put 1 11-0, oops, in between every SuperDuo, like that. I'm just going to continue that all the way down, like this. So if you want to set it up, kind of have everything sitting like this, we're going to connect. So this is where we did the first 3 SuperDuos on one side. So this one, we come all the way down. The last 3 11-0s are going to come out of this SuperDuo, and they're going to connect to these 2 beads right here. We'll get to that in a minute, though. I'm just giving you a little preview like that, so that when we turn it around, that SuperDuo, the whole chain, the side of the chain looks like it's coming out from behind the 4mm bicone. All right, so just kind of get all your 11/0s in between your SuperDuos, and then just meet me at the end, and we'll connect this side of the chain to the bezel. Okay, so I'm coming down to the end to where I'm going to attach, and just make sure that your chain has it's a little fluid. You don't have to worry too much about it being loose, because you can always pull that other thread. You see that is where the stop bead is attached, so we can always tighten this end up if need be. So I'm just going to leave it, sort of loose at the moment. Like I said, like if you see it right there, there's some thread showing, so I'll just pull this thread like that, just lightly. Now I'm just going to just place my chain like this. I'm going to pick up 3 11/0s. So I've come through the last SuperDuo here, and I want to attach around this bicone. So do you see the chain is going to look like it's coming out from behind the bicone? So here, these are the 3 11/0s that I put on in the beginning. I'm going to pick up 3, and I'm going to sew through these 2 11/0s right here. When I do that, see how that's going to pull it so the chain is attached like so. Here, of course, we're going to have to tighten it, but that's how it looks from the other side. And now I'm just going to, again, just check my tension, make sure it's good. It's going to be a little bit, this part is a little bit wonky, so make sure you're pulling this end, or this part is not wonky, it's just you have to be a little careful with it. You want to make sure that this is sitting nicely. So you see how that's sitting like that? It's nice and even, so I'm holding this end, my thumb, holding this end as well. I'm going to sew through just a number of beads, so I'm going to go through the 15/0 like that. See how that's pulling it in? And making sure that this one is pulled in. So see, that's exactly how it should look on the back, nice and even. And then just go through a number of beads. You can actually use the beads on the bezel, doesn't really matter, just go around a bit. And then you're going to have to sew this thread in because it will pull out, and then we'll work on this side. So, sew around a little bit, tie some half-hitch knots, make sure it's nice at this point, that it's nice and snug down here on this end, and then we'll start this end. All right, so just get to that point and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So now I'm going to remove my stop bead from my other thread, and I'm going to start on this side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads, and then my SuperDuos and 11/0s. So just get you started here. So this is how this is going to go on this side. So you see how one end of the necklace is going to go this way, and the other one's going to be attached this way. So we're going to go all the way down all the way down the line until we get to the top, and then we're going to add this part of the clasp, the loop, and then we're going to go back down the other side and attach. So just go all the way down to the end, and then meet me at the after you have the other side on, and then I'll show you how to do the loop, or I'll do the loop with you, and then we'll turn around and go back down and complete the necklace. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, so I've come down to the end of my chain on this side, and actually I think I'm going to use some bicones for my decorative edge. So I'm just going to do this. And I'll use bicone, so 11/0, rondelle, bicone, anything that you like. just going to add enough that it will allow my cup button to go through easily. I know maybe bicones aren't the best idea because they tend to cut thread, but that they're sitting here, so I'll just use them. So you want to put your cup button through to make sure it's going to fit. That looks like it's a bit much. I'll take a couple off. And one more on. We'll get there. I think that's about right. So we're just going to, so here I have a number of 11. I started with an 11-0, a bunch of bicones, 11-0. Gonna come back around through this bead like that. And then just like I did before, I'm just going to pick up an 11-0, and I'm going to put an 11-0 in between every SuperDuo. You want to be careful with your tension here because this is, you're going to be pulling it, like, make sure that your 3 beads up there are pretty, are sitting right next to each other. There's not any thread showing. You can still adjust it pretty easily at this point. So do that all the way down to the very end, and you're going to connect this side the exact same way you did the other side. So you're just going to do this same connection. So if you need to rewind and look at the connection again, but you're going to do that exact same connection, and then meet me back here and we'll finish up. Okay, here are our little beauties. So that was a lot of fun and very easy to make. Just to show you the back of the one we just completed, you see how it's nice, very nicely completed on the back. However, if you are making this part, the front, then you'll have to figure out another, I think you would figure out another way to connect the chain. So that'll be fun to kind of play with, I think. All right, so here you go. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.